because you have now more information available to you. I think I've been able to say something about that.
Sir, I would like to add on to this answer. I am Major Arvind Tiwari from Signal, sir. The question which is being raised by the upcoming lawyer, what he's seen when he was studying in a school, that is talking of, I think, 10 years back. That time, the level of entry for the troops was a bit low. In recent past, the level has been increased as far as technical arm goes, even for the soldiers GD. Earlier times, we used to have people, when senior officers were sitting in front, they used to pass instruction, they used to draw. When the officer used to say, ki two people will go to particular place, to a field to do some work, he used to draw a field, a tree and two person. That is how he used to work. Like suppose you start practicing tomorrow, you will have a client who will be illiterate also. You will tell him to get something, he will get it his own way. The second thing which sir has said, that every person doesn't need to get all the information. And there are not this big gap. The people who are sitting in front, I am sitting behind. So I am a bit lower in the hierarchy. So I've got further people. I've got a JCO, I've got an NCO. So it is not like when you start practicing, you'll become a lawyer. You'll have assistant who'll be, going to the college trying to learn. You'll have another steno who doesn't know about anything law. He only knows typing. So these things are there. And the next thing is that training. For every new thing which is being inducted, we conduct training at all level, unit level, individual level, sub-unit level, or nation level. So that thing has been taken care of. Yes, it may take time. It will take time. Thank you.
See, in the good old days, as the information used to flow top down from the general to the soldier, it used to get heavily distorted. The advantage of digitization is that it will not, and he will get the actual message. It's not our invention, it's the language of the IT world. We are proposed, if we have to interact with them, we have to use it.
Sir, I'll quote 4 incidences starting from 1999. I was a squadron commander then. We were doing exercise and orders were there will be total radio silence. And within that constraints, the exercise will be conducted. Once the period for radio silence was removed, extensive radio jamming was done so that we could not communicate and we could not talk to each other, still carry out the tasking. 70% of the tasking was completed, 30% not done. 5 years later, I was an observer, another squadron, young people carrying out exercise. Using GPS, GPS were being used. And again, radios, normal radios. Same orders, no GPS to be used. Radio silence, radio jamming. 50% task done, 50% tasking not done. After that, 2 years back, a strike corps carrying out radio exercise in which no troop movement, complete exercise based on landline and certain amount of radio. 3 days exercise could not progress because the complete network was jammed because of viruses. No information, 3 days, and this is a fact, can be verified from one of the strike corps. Coming back to Delhi Cant, I think in the month of February, for complete 1 week, Delhi Cant was paralyzed because somebody next to headquarter Delhi area had stolen 2 pair of cables. The landline, complete networking, everything gone, washed away. These are practical things that I'm saying. My daughter is doing computer science, second year. I am interacting with her and with her friends, who is younger to the majors and captains who are presently serving. When I interact with her, the amount of information that they have is, they are surprised. They are living in a world of Facebook, Twitter and all that. They chat for hours and hours altogether, but they don't know their information, their complete things are being taken away by a lot of people, sold in the market. They are just not aware that there is a security threat as far as they are concerned. When I see how the warfare is going to develop in future, it is not the signals which is going to fight on ground. It is not EME which is going to fight. It is going to be the infantry, it is going to be the armored, it is going to be the artillery. Now, as far as these arms are concerned, you leave alone Jawans, JCOs, come to the officers. They don't know the difference between .exe, .jpg file. This is the situation. They do not know if something goes in the computer wrong in the computer, how to control that. They are using pen drives. They are using that pen drive to pass information from one official computer to another official computer. Thereafter, deleting the information, operational plans. Thereafter, that same pen drive goes to a computer which is connected to internet. They think that deleting it is safe. You all are aware, the computer savvy people, nothing is safe as far as that pen drive is concerned. So, my saying is, sir, we have to train our officers, JCOs and NCOs, the information, the technical expertise as far as other arms and services are concerned, it is very poor. They have to be trained. Otherwise, NCW and all that, that's of no use. That's all, sir.
Thank you for your view. This is, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this is one view which he has expressed. And, well, everyone is free to express his views. But the thing is that, yes, there is a way in which things have to be done. And the fact that all of us are used to, taking a mic from an attendant who's standing here or somebody is a mindset of the past, despite the fact that this whole auditorium is one of the most modern ones. So like that, mindsets will take time to change. And as I mentioned during my talk, that policies have to be implemented with a lot of vigor and with a lot of compliance. I mean, if in the IT world, if you don't have what is called as compliance, then naturally you will find that it will lead to information compromise. Because earlier information was on files or in the form of some diaries and etc., which one used to carry. But today, if you're going to port it, either in the form of on radio waves or on the OFC, on the fiber, then obviously you have to be prepared for compromises in case you don't take. But that doesn't mean that this important enabler which is with us is not used. Because you have to understand that in this whole huge amount of information entropy which will be there, if a particular maneuver force has all the information available to it, possibly you will find that they'll be able to create an opening. Whereas you can keep lining up systems after systems. When I say systems, means combat systems. And in the absence of information, you will find that they will keep doing speculative drills in their own, in the TBA. So we have, in the Indian Army, after a lot of thought, has decided that we will move towards net centricity. Let's all respect that and see how we can achieve that.
Probably my thing has not been understood. What I am not saying that we should not go towards this. We should go towards this. But we should train our men and officers so that they can do this thing. They can help us.
That's being done. See, it is a part of the IT policy, training policy. It is being done. And I have been to a number of centers. I have seen people are being given those kind of inputs. It's a question of how that whole thing, is rehearsed in the regiments and the battalions. Now that the moment e-office comes, as I mentioned, for example, there is a e-ticketing program now, where from your battalion itself, you will be able to, make your own reservations, and you will get a ticket of the Indian Railways in hand before you move out from the unit. Now imagine if such a thing, the moment this whole project gets commissioned, what a big, stress buster it will be. A Jawan moving from Tawang knows which train he has to is to take from Guwahati and further on from Delhi. And he's got his complete reservations and all confirmed. But for getting that ticket, now if a good battalion commander ensures that, okay, it is the Jawan himself who will make the entries, like you do your e-check-in, well, you will find the culture will catch on. But if you just place 2 dedicated clerks and who will be rolling it out, well, so it is for you guys when you command units and formations to bring in the IT culture. We have, from our side, also included this as a part of the admin inspection report. The formation commander has to give a comment on the IT savviness of the unit as a whole. So like this, all checks and balances are coming in, and hopefully we will graduate one day into becoming a truly networked force.
May I just add, sir?
Please.
Allow me. We have come a long way. So when messaging is one way, nobody would have thought 5 years back that instead of physical letters going up and down, the messages can be passed by van. The Jawans are still using their info kiosks. They are punching in their numbers, the passwords and all, and they are seeing their systems. They are connected to the record office. They are just going on.
Thank you. It's been an excellent session, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure all of you will agree. We've had 3 very fine presentations, informative, educative, and the speakers, I must say, have made us think about this subject in detail. Please join me in thanking the chairperson, General N.B. Singh, and the 3 speakers. Thank you very much. We'll adjourn for lunch for an hour, almost an hour. We reassemble at 2:15, and in the second session, we look ahead. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. May I invite the chairperson and the panelists to kindly come up, please? Hi, Gani. Thank you. Thanks. In session 1, we took stock of where we are and what the challenges are. And this second session, we'll look at the future prospects and challenges for network-centric warfare. We are very fortunate to have General V.K. Kapoor chairing this session. General Kapoor again is well known to all of you from the Armored Corps, a very distinguished career in the Army, and he spent 7 years at the College of Combat, or now the Army War College, first as the Commander, Higher Command Wing, and then as the Commandant of the college. And in that capacity, you are well aware that the Commandant travels very widely within India and abroad. And he has gained an immense wealth of experience. And thank you very much for agreeing to chair this session, sir. 3 very fine speakers once again. Air Marshal Ganesh, a coastmate and a friend, former Assistant Chief of Air Staff and also former Senior Staff Officer, Maintenance Command, from where he retired. And he's delved in technology issues all his life. He will speak on a roadmap for the armed forces. Mr. Harvinder Singh Rajwant, second speaker from Cisco today. He'll speak on keeping the network secure. And I hope some of those doubts which came up in the morning, particularly from this section of the House, will be addressed in his talk. And finally, Wing Commander Arif Khan from Ericsson, spin-off benefits of commercial technologies. Again, they'll speak for about 15 to 20 minutes. We have till 4 o'clock, sir, when we wind up, and then followed by a very short valedictory session with the Signal Officer-in-Chief, General Mahapatra, delivering the valedictory address. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to see all of you. I thought that the hall would hardly have any occupants after lunch, because that's the norm. After lunch, everybody disappears. So happy to see you here, and I think that's the reason, because this morning the discussion was fairly lively, so some have remained back to continue that discussion. So much has been spoken about network centricity and network centric operations, network centric warfare. These are various terms that are used. I thought I'll give you a small operational perspective before we launch ourselves into the second session. And that is, when a nation goes to war, what does it want to do? If I go to war as a, shall we say, if I'm the executive head of the nation, and if I decide with my cabinet to go to war, obviously, I'm quite sure in my mind that we're going to win this war. Otherwise, you should use other means to avoid a war. If you wish to go to war to win a war, it is in that context that you should look at network centricity. Because the network centricity gives you an advantage that it is a concept of operation that enables us to achieve our strategic objectives of war. Please listen carefully. It enables you to achieve your strategic, which means political objectives of war, with least amount of tactical effort, which really is operational art. Therefore, it is achieving the objectives of operational art if you use network-centric warfare skillfully. Of course, you would say that, well, the opponent would also have network centricity, but then I said skillfully. Therefore, why do I focus as a person on network centricity? I do that because I feel here is a method of winning a war, especially future wars. I'll talk about it a little later. Especially future wars, because it gives you an opportunity to, with the least amount of tactical effort, to gain maximum strategic advantage. And that is what we are looking for when we look at future wars. Why? Because you'll agree with me that state-to-state wars are unlikely to be fought. With a nuclearized region, we are not going to be fighting state-to-state war. You were not even allowed to cross the border when we fought the Kargil conflict. Similarly, when you deployed for, what was that operation? Parakram. You deployed for Operation Parakram. You were not, you didn't finally go to war. Why? What was holding you back all the time is this nuclear overhang. Therefore, if this be the reality today in this region, South Asia, and our two opponents are nuclear armed, as indeed we are, what are the types of operations that we are looking at? If you are looking at conventional conflicts, you are looking at some sort of limited conventional conflicts, maybe border skirmishes and so on. If you are looking at other types of wars, you are already fighting them: proxy war, counter-terrorism, counter-insurgencies, homegrown insurgencies. If you are fighting these, this is the main focus of your future attention, apart from, shall we say, giving a helping hand to a neighbor who asks for support, or projecting a force outside to, shall we say, to save your own countrymen, your diaspora abroad, or projecting a force to save your own island territories, which are, let's say, 1,500, 2,000 kilometers away? What is the type of a force that you will be using? In that context, when you are seeing it in a limited way, of course, today we are talking about all 13 cores and 36 or more divisions being network-centric. But you know and I know that that's a very far cry and it will take a long time. But before that, we better get those forces ready which are going to be used for these other type of operations. And it is in that context that I feel network centricity will again be of a great advantage to us. Now, this nature of war that I've talked about, what do we have to do here? We've got to think big, but with smaller forces, more precise, with better information. It is in that context that network centricity, I feel, is going to be of great advantage to us. Now, we've talked a lot about the technologies involved, and I'm not very well versed with technologies. But nevertheless, today we have in this session 3 very versatile gentlemen who know their technologies well, and we'll invite them one by one to give us an insight. To start with, we have AVM Ganesh, who's going to talk to us about roadmap for the... So over to Ganesh, and I'm sure he'll educate us on this very important subject of roadmap of the armed forces.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. After a morning, the pre-lunch session, listening to all spectra of operations, shall we say, right from theories at the stratospheric level right down to the ground level, I think it's more fitting that we finish off closer to the ground level where we are living at the moment. What I want to do basically is, now that our ideas have been enunciated and articulated beyond all reasonable doubt, we need to choose and fashion for ourselves some kind of roadmap which we need to navigate. That roadmap should be made to our specifications. What does India, and in India, what do we in India require from it? It's got to be as custom built to you as the shoes you wear. From that point of view, you may find that you may elect to discard or to gloss over some of the more advanced aspects of network centricity because they do not suit your purpose. As I will cover later on, we should not blindly follow other countries with other commitments and other pressures. The United States doesn't have Maoists. The United States doesn't have so many movements within them, so many let us say, state forces within their own country. We do, and so we need to monitor as well as implement the tools available to us accordingly. So the first thing is, in a network-centric environment, what exactly are we looking at? Firstly, we're looking at the Indian context. In the Indian context, we're looking at our role in the Indian context. What is our charter of responsibilities? How and where and when are we going to fulfill those responsibilities? In that, once we know exactly where we want to go and what we want to do, then we jot down a wish list of the effects we'd like to create, effects which match very closely with the roadmap which we have set for ourselves. And once we make a list of those effects, then we start seeing, okay, what technologies do I need to achieve those effects? So actually it's quite a simple thing. You find out what you have to do and find out what tools you need to do that job. That's about all. In order to do all this, I've listed out about 7 or 8 key effects, some of them so simple that they hardly bear mention, but important nevertheless. Okay, when you say network-centric operations, actually what are we talking about? Never mind all the technology, never mind all the buzzwords. Actually what we're talking about are just 3 things: global awareness, global tools, global communications, and global decision making. When I say global here, ladies and gentlemen, I don't mean in a geographical sense, I'm using global in an informative sense. That means visible to everybody. Awareness means if the organization so feels that the common soldier should be aware of a certain aspect of information, then he is aware of it. It does not mean throwing open the floodgates of information which will lead to traffic jams, blockages, and total stagnation at all points. In order for you to do your job, depending on what your job happens to be, what kind of tools do you need? Who is there as an enabler for you to be able to use that tool? Do you need clearance from someone 5 kilometers away, someone in the next room, or someone on the other side of the globe? It's the job of the network-centric solution per se to provide you with an answer to that. Obviously, communications and communicating data and imagery, as the case may be, is going to be absolutely essential. And as brought out by one of the brought out by one of the speakers before me, your communication system should be such that in case of a minor glitch or a failure, the entire system doesn't come crashing down, but recovers and gets back on the line the moment things are okay. Once you have all these tools, then somebody somewhere is going to make a decision. And herein lies we coming to one of the differences. It may not be the top guy in the organization making a decision. It might be at the lowest rung, at the level of a soldier, at the level of a sergeant or a havildar or whoever it is who's at that key spot at that time. So there are certain certain changes of thinking which will have to go along with this, which I'll come to a little later. Basically, we're looking at everything becoming a homogeneous kind of a mix-up, starting from right down at ground level, all the way up to the dissemination of all information through satellites and things like that. And therefore, the nature of warfare as such, it's been compressed as well as flattened. There is no longer a tactical operation, there's no longer a strategic operation. You might find a deep, deep strike starting the war, if there is a war to start with, a formal war, or starting the stream of hostilities. It doesn't really have to start at the FIBA and extend inwards. It can start at the far reaches inside and extend outwards. So that kind of flexibility is there. Now, what kind of characteristics are we actually going to help to guide ourselves? It's become very common to compare things with typically the US. But remember, as I covered a little earlier, they got a different charter, they've got a different kettle of fish, they got a different axe to grind, both politically as well as militarily. So it would be a mistake to keep emulating that example all the time. We would have to at times redefine what are our staff functions, what are our line functions. We'll need to get used to the fact that an air commodore might talk to an army captain, or a major general might have to talk to a sergeant, and treat them with the same professional kind of faith and confidence as you would in the normal 1 up, 2 down line of command that we're so used to. Our access for information may not be from the person right below us. It's going to be from all over. If you think deeply about it, this is quite a loaded statement. Even if you want access from the battlefield, who brings it to you? Who brings you the access from a battlefield? Who do you take a briefing from when your op order is being planned or written out? So we may have to rethink some of those guidelines. There was a discussion some time back about when we were talking about EBO. Now, time has always been there, EBO has always been there. You always do something for a purpose, and therefore everything is an effect-based operation. But time was not so critical earlier, time has become more critical now. So earlier, where you used to launch a certain operation and the effect of which might come out in 1 week or 1 month or 1 year, right now it might come out in maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 10 minutes. That is the basic difference. We have to treat time as like any other factor, like any other dimension. If you take these three, you have the 3 levels of military operations in all 3 dimensions. You add one more, and that includes time. That's as good as any other dimension. It can be shortened, can be lengthened, can be measured, and it can be altered at will too, which will affect the outcome of any particular operation. Once you have control over all this, then you can say a span of control. You have total mastery of that particular situation, or a very high level of mastery over that situation. That is the kind of control that you need to be in. Now, what are the kind of technologies we actually need? Now, you'll pardon me if most of the examples I give are from the Air Force, because that's where I am from, but I'm sure that there are equally, if not better, examples both from the Army and the Navy. We started off basically with gathering intelligence, which is a very, very old game, of course. But we need to have tools to be able to access as well as disseminate. I